planes.
Yes. Well, for the moment, we didn't sell any. We
Except to the French Army, of
except to
course.
the French Army and Navy. I mean, the French Air Force and Navy, not Army.
Yes.
But no, we were about to sell to Morocco and it failed, and we might be about to sell some to the United Arab Emirates as well as to Brazil.
I hate to bring this in, Francois, but this brings us to one of the countries whose troops is not participating there, Cote d'Ivoire, whose Air Force was literally wiped out by the French Air Force when there was a misunderstanding between Gbagbo's forces and the French peacekeepers.
Yeah, that was back in 2004.
Exactly.
Those planes were, in fact, Russian-made, the ones for the Ivorian Army.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were Russian-made and piloted by Ukrainian.
And that is probably the reason President Gbagbo still doesn't want to appear as part of this day's celebration.
And another reason given was the fact that it is still a country divided by civil war.
Yes,
and it's difficult. Who do you name to come to the to march in that instance?
Exactly, and also because the militants of President Gbagbo of the Ivorian Popular Front, many of them are not happy with France, the way France has projected itself in the Ivorian conflict. In fact, some of them, like the youth leader Charles Blégou, they used to say, if France doesn't like us, we will become American friends.
So no Ivorian army, but the Ivorian flag is represented in,
Yes.
in the color guard, and the Ivorian defense minister in the front row, albeit, as Philip Crowther was mentioning a short while ago, at the far end. But again, that's a question of protocol. He's seated next to the Speaker of the French National Assembly.
Yes, and maybe we need to talk about who is not there and who would have wanted to be here. For instance, some of the French former colonies like Djibouti and Comoros, they are not here because
But they're not celebrating 50 years of
they are
independence.
not celebrating 50 years. They are here because of that. If it was 50 years, they would be here. They would have wanted to be here. Would Guinea-Conakry have wanted to be here? The breakup was acrimonious. They would.
That was 58, though.
That was 58.
Yeah.
And France's North African former colonies, Tunisia and Algeria. Tunisia 56, Algeria 1962, and Morocco 1956. So that has saved the French government a bit of a diplomatic embarrassment. Perhaps
Some
if they
have-
had been invited, they would have refused to come.
Some
maybe.
have made the argument that in the new relationship between France and Africa, that the president should have invited Nigeria, which celebrates in October its 50 years of independence.
Exactly, and Nigeria, I remember in the 70s or the 80s at least, was using the Alpha jets that Laurent has been talking about, and Nigeria, is quite a stabilizing factor in West Africa as well. I don't know, perhaps because they did not want to dilute the love France-Afrique 50th anniversary with Anglophone Africa.
Laurent Ninger, what are these planes?
Well, these are planes, maritime patrol planes of the French naval aviation, because of all the planes that are parading, that are flying over Paris at the moment, many are from the French Air Force, but many others are from the French naval aviation, either maritime patrol or the Rafale that are stationed, that compose the wings of the French aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle. Or here, well, these are transport plane of the French Air Force, Transal. And these are planes that doesn't belong to the armed forces, but they are Dash 8 planes that belong to the Sécurité Civile, Civil Security Service. They are designed mainly to fight against forest fires.
All right, and the French Naval Air Force celebrating its 100th birthday this year.
Yes, the French naval aviation was founded 100 years ago.
The youngest of the armed forces wing.
Yes, probably. Well, no, it's the oldest. It's the oldest. The youngest, the paradox is that the youngest is the French Air Force, which was founded in 1933.
Yes, they should be the Air Force, yes.
All right, and after the, as you mentioned, we're seeing Transal planes, which are used for transport.
Yes.
And I believe we're also going to see planes from the Air Force Pilot Training School.
Yes, these are the planes that are used by the Air Force Training School. These are Xingu planes. Actually, these are Brazilian-made aircrafts.
And has it always been smooth sailing on every Bastille Day when they have used aircraft flyovers, that everything has been safe and nothing went wrong?
No, not yet. Not as I know.
Yeah.
There hasn't been any accident in the Bastille Day with all these planes in all these years.
Philip Crowther, how noisy is it below as you watch this spectacle?
Yes, François, as you can see that aerial display in full flow, that is certainly the one part, as you heard Cyril Vanier mention earlier, that a lot of the spectators on the Champs-Élysées are here to see. Now, in case you're wondering about the heads of state and all the guests of honor in the presidential stand, whether they get to see this very well, well, yes, they do. They have a giant screen next to them to be able to follow all the details of the military parade, of that aerial display. Now, the military parade on foot is about to start. That's where we'll see the African soldiers take part. After that, it'll be the vehicles, and after that, right at the end, we'll have a helicopter display that will pretty much signal the end of this. Now, just another mention about protocol, which is of course very important for an event like these with so many heads of state in attendance. Protocol and timing are very important here. For example, just before all the heads of state arrived here, well, we saw a long line of cars waiting to arrive here on the bridge going across the Seine from here to the National Assembly, to Parliament, basically. Now, why was there such a long line? Well, simply because they had to arrive at exactly the right time. As we said, next to the president, sitting next to him are Paul Biya, president of Cameroon, and Blaise Compaoré of Burkina Faso. Well, they were the ones who had to arrive at the very end because of protocol, because they are the heads of state who've been in power the longest. The same with the vehicles. They have to arrive exactly at the right time so that the president of Cameroon is the very last one to arrive before the French president. And of course, everybody sitting down very comfortably before the French president arrives 10 minutes after that.
All right, Philip Crowther, many thanks. We begin, and as Philip was mentioning, it's in alphabetical order, and we begin with Benin. And for Benin, it is an all-female contingent, Billy O'Cadamara.
Yes, they are trying to be very politically correct there, and I must say that they really got it right.
Politically correct, or a nod to history in what was once Dahomey.
Exactly, and I think they have scored quite well there in the choice of the troops that they have sent for these. I'm sure they are very proud of themselves for doing that.
These Amazons were once a key component of the defense forces of the Kingdom of Abomey.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, that feminine unit was recreated in Benin some years ago to pay an homage to the Amazons of King Behanzin, who are the old Dahomey king in the 1890s, who fought against the French colonial army.
All right, a bit of a goose step we see for Burkina Faso.
Yeah.
And behind them, Cameroon. And those colors look a lot to me. And there we see some of the contingent is female. Those colors reminiscent of the military uniforms the French had way back.
Yes, many African uniforms actually are a mixture of present-day French army uniforms, African traditional accoutrements, and old French parading uniforms.
All right, and we just caught a fleeting glimpse there. You see them, that camel riding unit from Mali we were discussing before the parade began. There you see it in its turbaned garb.
Yes.
And carrying what looks like an AK-47, which is unusual for the armed forces of many of these countries.
Well,
there you see the Mauritanian contingent.
Yes, well, generally these African armies are either equipped with French guns or with Soviet-made guns, Russian-made guns. So, I mean, the AK-47 is not that uncommon in Africa.
Well, it's probably the most common.
Yes, I'm afraid.